They cursed your name by daylight. By night, it's a prayer they mutter into whiskey. You were mocked, but heaven wrote songs from your silence. They laughed at your love until it haunted their coldest nights. Your absence now echoes louder than their ridicule ever could. They feared your softness because it knew their secrets. Their shame smells like your old perfume. You weren't broken. You were sacred, and they weren't ready. The joke stopped. The ache remained. They drank to forget you, then named their pain after you. You were mocked publicly, but missed in private like breath. They buried your name under lies. Truth resurrected it. Your love humbles them in dreams they don't admit. They destroyed what they couldn't understand. Now they grieve what they never deserved. You weren't weak, they were terrified of what you awakened. Their throat burns when they try to speak your name. You loved with open hands. They left with closed hearts. Their cruelty was loud. Your love remains louder. They remember you when the silence grows teeth. You showed them God. They called you insane. They tossed you aside. Now they search your face in strangers. They said you were too much. But now, nothing satisfies them. You were mocked like a fool, but returned like prophecy. They hated your light because it exposed their emptiness. Your name lives on their lips, even when they kiss others. They gaslight your love. Now they drown in hollow touches. You were their divine assignment. They skipped the lesson. They forget what you said, but remember how it hurt to lose you. Their soul still bleeds where your grace once lived. They only remember you in the dark. That's when your light hurts most. They called you dramatic. But now even their silence trembles. You were the one. They were just afraid of forever. Your absence is their longest memory. They told stories. God kept receipts. You were mocked, but you were never mistaken. Their regret worships your shadow. You were the prophecy they prayed against. They feared your truth more than they feared your loss. You were the voice they silenced, now it screams in their chest. You were the holy thing they mishandled. They fake smiles. But their heart still whispers your name. You were their turning point, they chose to keep spinning. Their pride wrote the ending. But your love lingers like a chorus. They clowned your love. Now they starve for it. You were the storm that made them feel alive. They never cried with you. Now they cry over you. They slandered you publicly, but wept for you privately. You were mocked by mouths that now kiss your memory. They forgot your worth. Life reminded them. You burned for them. Now they light candles in your name. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. They mocked your glow. Now they beg for warmth. You held them like sanctuary. They fled like cowards. They called you naive. But wisdom wore your face. Your name is a wound they hide from lovers. You were the blessing they weren't ready to receive. Their laughter now sounds like weeping. They reduced your love to jokes. Now they quote your silence. You were mocked. But the universe takes notes. They dressed your name in mockery. Now it's a crown they can't touch. Your tears were holy water. They spit in it. Now they thirst. You were mocked for healing. Now they limp in circles. They shamed your soul. Now they wear masks. They never wanted to love, only to win. You gave them wholeness. They gave you fragments. Your love exposed the lack in them. They screamed you were crazy. Now they whisper you were right. You left gently. The silence tore them apart. You planted light in soil they salted. They thought they'd forget you. Their body disagrees. Your name became a psalm in their darkest nights. You were mocked for feeling. Now they feel too late. They saw a fool. Heaven saw a prophet. You gave them everything. They can't even keep your memory straight. They pretended you were nothing. Now your shadow follows them home. Their cruelty was projection. Your love, a mirror. They wanted your magic, not your soul. They missed the way your silence made them feel seen. You stayed. They strayed. Now their soul is starving. They wanted love without cost. You became priceless. Your name returns with every heartbreak they collect. You touched the divine. They only touched you to feel close to it. They got bored. Now they're haunted. You became art in a world that only consumes. They left with pride. You stayed with peace. They mocked what they couldn't master. You were medicine. They wanted candy. You were the test they failed beautifully. You gave forever. They offered convenience. They called you a phase. But you built their becoming. Your voice is still the truth in their head. They joked about your worth. Now they study your glow. They dismissed you like noise. Now your name is melody. You weren't a mistake. You were mercy. They fumbled grace. It doesn't come twice. You waited for their awakening. They ran from it. They laugh louder now, trying to drown your silence. They walked away before the miracle bloomed. Your goodbye still bruises their chest. You gave gold. They chose glitter. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. They mocked the angel. Now they sleep with demons. You were mocked like dirt. But God used you to grow forests. They left while you were blooming. Now they harvest regret. You were the gospel they refused to hear. They feared your depth. Now they drown in shallows. You gave them presents. They remember in absence. They replaced you, but never recovered. You were called delusional. But you were just ahead of their healing. They needed your light, but called it too much. Your memory drinks from their guilt. They break in pieces shaped like you. They touched your body, but never your soul. Your departure baptized them in silence. They celebrated your loss. Now they mourn your glow. They gasped at your strength. You wept alone. You weren't hard to love. They were afraid to feel. They mocked your dreams. Now they choke on reality. You held space. They filled it with noise. They called you weak. God called you worthy. Your tears grew wings. They became the wind beneath their regrets. You weren't too much. You were just unfamiliar to their numbness. They laughed with others. But only you understood their pain. They stayed blind to your worth. Now the world sings it. They crave closure, but you became a door they'll never open again. They laughed when you wept. Now their silence trembles when your memory walks in without knocking. Your name lives rent-free in the throat they drink to forget. Haven't heard the way they said your name, drunk, cracked, still pleading. You were their lesson. Not their lover. Not their friend. Their reckoning. They don't miss you. They ache with your absence. Your goodbye was whispered, but the echo never stopped. They lied about you. Now their chest tightens every time someone resembles your spirit. You became holy the moment they desecrated your love. Even their demons whisper your name when it gets quiet. They mocked your softness. Now they pray for someone half as kind. The one they abandoned became the altar they now kneel before in shame. Every name they try to love now chokes on yours. You were the storm they called a phase. Now they build lifeboats from your memory. They're not over you. They're just pretending better than you imagined. Their apology lives in every voicemail they never dared to send. They forgot your birthday. But they cry every time July feels like you. Their karma is remembering the warmth they ridiculed. You haunt them, not because you're cruel, but because you were pure. They scroll past you like strangers, until the night suffocates them with silence. Your picture still lives in their hidden folder. The one no one knows exists. They'll tell others you meant nothing, then write poems they won't sign. You showed up as light. They hid in shadows. Now they long for morning. Their new love knows your name. Don't ask how. They belittled you. Now they dream of being held by your forgiveness. You were mocked, not because you were wrong, but because you made them feel unworthy. They drink to forget, but your ghost never leaves sober. They crucified your tenderness. Now they light candles for your peace. Your name became the lullaby they deny humming. What they discarded became divine. And now they pray for another chance at heaven. You weren't too much. They were too numb. Their silence is louder than your tears ever were. You were a mirror. They couldn't stand what they saw. They say it didn't matter. Then why do they still watch your stories? Their shame wears your perfume. They scream into pillows. You just breathe. They kissed you like a secret. Now they mourn you like a truth. You were mocked like a prophet. But heaven never needed applause. Their favorite lie was saying they never loved you. Their soul calls yours at 3 a.m., but they blame the alcohol. You brought light. They wore sunglasses. Now they curse the dark. They pretend they're healed. You know the truth lives behind their eyes. They said goodbye. Their spirit never did. You're still the prayer they won't say out loud. Your tears became oceans they now drown in. They mocked your faith. Now they beg angels to bring you back. Your love was a cathedral they tried to burn. But stone remembers. They belittled your heart. Now they write novels to forget it. You became poetry after they tried to erase your name. Their regret is eternal. Your peace is divine. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. They erased you from their life, except for that drawer of things they swore they'd thrown away. Your silence now screams louder than their laughter ever did. They wanted you quiet. Now your absence is deafening. You were their safest place. They chose a fire. They called you dramatic. But it was your soul that unsettled theirs. Their indifference was armor. Your love still pierced through. You were never too sensitive, they were just too calloused. They deleted your number but still dial it in dreams. You loved them into wholeness. They left you in pieces. Their peace was built on your breaking. But even ruins can rise. You were mocked in daylight, but heaven wept in secret. They feared your light because it revealed their shadows. They turned their back. God turned toward you. You gave them heaven. They returned you crucified. They dimmed your fire. Now they shiver in the cold. You weren't a mistake, they were a test. Their pride cost them paradise. You became a memory too sacred to speak. You showed them eternity, they wanted entertainment. They laughed at your dreams. Now they wish they'd stayed asleep with you. You were the soul they couldn't fake love with. Their ridicule was just a mask for reverence. They drank to numb your truth. You forgave them silently. That's why they'll never know peace. They made fun of your light. Now they chase it everywhere. You were mocked, but heaven marked you. They said you were replaceable. But no one has. They gave you nothing. You still gave them grace. Their shame builds monuments to your name in private. They only respect what breaks them. You bent, but never broke. They mocked the seed. But now they envy the bloom. They said your love was too much. Now emptiness is all they know. They ghosted you. But it's you who haunts. Your name tastes bitter in their prayers. They told the world you were delusional. Only because you saw the truth. You were never weak, they were never ready. You hurt because you held real love. They never even touched it. They built their pride on sand. You built your soul on stone. You were the lesson, not the loss. Their new love is just a dull echo of what they buried. They left, thinking you'd fade. But you became legend. You healed. They hollowed. You walked away in silence. Now every sound reminds them of you. They loved you quietly. You deserved an anthem. Your grace still terrifies them. They mock what they don't understand, and they never understood your light. Their karma isn't pain. It's remembering how you loved. You left no curse, just a love too sacred to repeat. They weaponized your softness. But softness outlasts steel. Their hearts break, still pretending yours didn't matter. You rose like prophecy. They still kneel to guilt. They told lies about you. But truth whispers when the world sleeps. They loved you in shadows. But you deserved daylight. They missed their miracle looking for magic tricks. You were the storm they prayed would pass, then begged to return. They remember every word you didn't say. Your name opens wounds they swore had healed. They mocked you. But the angels marked it. Their peace crumbles where your footsteps once echoed. They kept you hidden. Now they can't look away. Your silence baptizes them in guilt. You taught them love. They taught you leaving. Your ghost is louder than their laughter. They faked indifference. But God saw their trembling. You weren't difficult, they were dishonest. They mourned you in metaphors. You lived in truth. You were the fire. They just feared the burn. They said you were crazy. Now they pray for your clarity. They couldn't carry your heart, so they buried it. You gave them poetry. They responded with silence. Their memory of you is sacred, even if they never admit it. They act untouched. But your love left marks. They cheered your downfall. But heaven watched you rise. You were mocked by mouths that now pray for your return. They said they moved on. Then why does every lover echo you? They don't miss you. They miss who they could have been beside you. Their applause fades. Your echo doesn't. You were a cathedral. They wanted a convenience store. They said you were nothing. Now they talk about you like scripture.